In Exodus chapter 3, Hashem tells Moshe to go back to Egypt and to let Bnei Yisrael know that it's time to pack their bags. They would be leaving slavery and returning to the promised land. And at the beginning of Parak Daled chapter 4, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hein lo ya'aminu li v'lo yishme'u bekoli. They won't believe me. They're not going to listen to me. Moshe anticipates that the people would dismiss his claim that Hashem appeared to him and that they'd be leaving. And so God responds by equipping Moshe with 3 signs or 3 miracles that he'd perform in the view of the people to prove that God had in fact spoken to him and charged him to lead them from slavery to freedom. The first miracle was that he transformed his staff into a snake. The second miracle was that his hand would turn leprous. And the third is that it be restored to its natural peach color. Rashi writes in the Midrash, citing the Midrash, that these 2 miracles of turning the staff into a snake and making his hand snow white, on the one hand proved Moshe's authenticity, but they were also a sort of punishment for Moshe. His staff turned to a snake, his hand turned white because he said, Lo ya'aminu bi, Bnei Yisrael were non-believers. They wouldn't believe what I said. The charge against the people, writes Rashi, was choshed b'ksherim. He was wrongly suspecting innocent people. And it was lashon hara. It was speaking negatively about a people. The Chafetz Chaim asks a question and says, why should the Midrash be criticizing Moshe for his concerns that the people wouldn't believe him? If it were you and me as slaves in Egypt, and Moshe comes along and says, we're going to be free, Hashem's going to save us, would we believe him? Would we believe Moshe? Especially where we had been for centuries, generations and generations. Why did the Midrash find fault with Moshe's concern? Wasn't a very real concern. And the Chafetz Chaim cites Reb Eliyahu Shik from the 1800s as explaining that Moshe was punished because he said Lo ya'aminu bi. He was certain that they would reject his prophecy. It would have been more appropriate for Moshe to raise the question, what if they don't believe me? Ulai hein lo ya'aminu bi. But instead Moshe pronounced hein lo ya'aminu bi. There's no way they're going to follow. There's no faith. And we often assign labels to people, defining them in a certain way, and then feel like we can definitively predict their behavior. The Midrash, as understood by Rabbi Shik, teaches that while it's wise to exercise caution when dealing with others, we can't be naive, we need to avoid rushing to conclusions, certainty about them. People are a lot more complex and nuanced and sophisticated than we think. We should never write off those who do not initially impress us because we never know the true nature or essence or potential of the other. People are often far more capable and impressive than we think. Today especially, this week especially, we feel so confident that we know what others believe, what their values are, if they are good people or not, and this is a huge mistake. If we learn anything from the history of Bnei Yisrael, it's the extreme fragility of a peoplehood. The Torah is a story of our nation, our people, but the lessons apply to all nations. Societies are fragile, and words no less than actions can bring people together or push people apart. My heroes, often regardless of their political leanings, are those whose words and thinking bring us together and give us true hope for a more peaceful and united tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom.